So you can follow Young Authors Publishing on all social platforms at Young Authors Publishing. You can go to our website, youngauthorspublishing.org. We have over 23 books in print. We have 10 more coming out this fall, and you can buy them wherever books are sold. So please go support our authors and all the amazing stories that they're writing. You can follow me at Leah Danielle on Instagram. And that's kind of only where I live right now. You know what I'm saying? Don't ask for too much. Twitter,
that's
Facebook,
all you need.
Find me on Instagram.
Period. That's all you need. Hey guys, and welcome to Justice Nicole's YouTube, where we are building entrepreneurs by being entrepreneur enthusiasts. And we're here today with an entrepreneur herself, Leah Hernandez. Say hello to Leah.
Hey y'all.
Yes. So Leah, tell us about yourself. Where are you from? What do you do as an entrepreneur?
Mm-hmm. So I'm originally from Southern California, a city called Pomona.
Okay.
Came to Atlanta 5 years ago for school, ended up staying after, and I'm a full-time book publisher. So I help Black and Brown students write and publish their own books. And I've been doing that for like 3 or 4 years now.
Wow. And where'd you go to school?
Clark Atlanta University.
Hey,
the illustrious
come
Clark
on,
Atlanta University.
Yes. Shout out to the alum in the building. You Clark Atlanta University. They all groom us to be the best people that we can be, because what do? We find a way or we make one. And that's exactly what Leah is doing now. So Leah, tell me about like a day in the life of even just an author. I've never met an author. So these young kids that are authors, like what is that life that they're aspiring to live?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think in full transparency, the kids that we're working with, I don't think they have the intention to be authors, because I think a lot of people like us and coming from the communities that we come from don't really see a life where we could be authors, where we could be the ones writing the books. And so I think the program, which is a 4-month program where they're paired with a trained writing mentor, we're helping them write their book. And then the other half, once they're done, they're learning about financial literacy and public speaking. And so it's not until they're actually like holding their book for the first time that they're like, oh crap, I really am an author.
Wow.
And I think it hits them in phases, which is really cool. But once it does hit them, you get an increase of confidence for the kids. And I think that's one of the most important things that I've seen so far.
Yeah, and I'm sure that they're like, once I have one book, like I want to write another one.
Now they're like this author, C-Rod, he's already has his second book. Like,
wow.
We're getting ready to start a series with him.
That's so awesome. And so when you say we and when you say this program, what is that?
Yes.
What is we in this program?
So
I want to put my kids in it.
Okay, right. So the name of the company is called Young Authors Publishing, and the experience program is where we work with the students. So we reach out to community partners. These are after-school programs, not-for-profits, and even churches who are already working with the students that we want to work with, which are Black and Brown students. We're very clear about the mission.
Yes.
We're unapologetic about it.
Period.
And so once we find those kids, then we pair them with trained writing mentors. And these writing mentors are college students of color who want to work in publishing. So the thing about publishing is it's super white, and it's a lot of barriers to entry. So even if you want to be behind the scenes in publishing, you have to have all these years of experience, and you have to live in New York, and it's all these barriers to entry. And so we're really helping the young authors, but we're helping college students as well get further employment in this industry and in this space. So the 4-month program is all about writing the book. Once the book is written, our writing mentors actually communicate with our illustrators, our designers, and our editors. And then our authors are learning the fundamentals of public speaking and financial literacy.
Yes.
Because once their book is done, they have to talk about it.
Yes.
They have to be in front of people. They have to
market
sell it.
Yeah.
Right. And so we want them to be comfortable with that and to have experience with that. And the thing about financial literacy is I actually really started this to get kids access to capital. I'm like, book public, because I wrote my book my sophomore year of college. And when I did that, I was like, oh, shoot, this is some good money for a little broke college student. Like, maybe we can get these kids money. And so that's really what we want to achieve book publishing as. And so one thing that I realized is that if you're not giving people education on how to use their money, save their money, and invest their money, it can go just as quick as it came. And so we want to make sure that like we're also training them and educating them on financial literacy throughout the program as well.
That is so smart. Because especially like us young generation, we're like, okay, well, once I get my get quick rich situation, then I'm good, and then I can keep it pushing. But it's not going to take just one book. It's probably numerous books or numerous iterations of the book. So even with that, like with the kids, how do you get them to stay committed to the process?
Yeah. Well, so we created a writing curriculum. So they go through different phases. The first part is about them deciding what they want their books to be written about. And so we're really not saying like, here's a pen and a pad, get to writing. We're more so trying to have a conversation with them, learning what their interests are, what they like. And then once we figure out what they're passionate about, then we can embed that into the story. They go through the storyline, outline, they go through character development, and at the end of the writing curriculum, it has a developed book. So I think during the process, they don't feel the pressure of, oh, I'm writing a
Yes.
book. They're just thinking about all these different concepts and cool
Yeah.
stories, and we're helping them put it together. And at the end, they have a finished book.
Oh, that's so awesome. So even like when you said in college, what's your book called? Let's start with that.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that's such a throwback. So oh Lord. So the title of my book is called Try God, and it talks about how to have an authentic relationship with God.
Nice.
And I wrote that my sophomore year at Clark Atlanta.
Wow.
And that was really what jump-started all of this, because I just had a story that I wanted to share. I felt like I was growing a deeper relationship with God, and it looked a lot different from like what I was told it should look like growing up in church. And so I just wanted to share that story, but I didn't know how to publish. And so that first, year, our first 2 years of undergrad, I was learning how to book publish, how to self-publish, and teaching myself how to do it. And then once I did it, then I was like, oh, I can help other people do the same thing.
Yes.
Not as hard as it seemed. We just don't see a lot of people that look like us in this industry.
That's a fact. And when you said you were making money, like when you said publish it, where are you publishing this? How are people buying this book?
Yeah.
How are these kids making money?
That's a great question. So all of our books through Young Authors Publishing are distributed by the largest book distributor in the country, which is called Ingram Content Group. Okay. And so our books are sold globally on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Walmart, Target, anywhere you buy books, you can find our books. And we have a sales team there. So I have different sales reps for Walmart, Target, and they kind of be on me quarterly to decide how we're going to promote the titles, how we're going to put the books out there and market them. And then we have an in-house team as well that helps with promotion.
Oh my gosh, that's so. And when you say us, and when you say we, this is your business, Leah.
Yes, this is. And I have a wonderful team of 6. So it's myself, the founder and CEO. Nana Kajali is our marketing manager. So she leads all of our external marketing. Selena, who's also a CAU grad, is our operations manager, and so she runs all of our programs, all of our internships. She connects our authors with different bookstores in the city to do different book signings throughout the year. And then we just hired 2 publishing interns that participated in our program, but just were wonderful, and so we kept them on. And then we just hired a social media coordinator.
That is so awesome, Leah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
This is what we're talking about. So, and how long ago did you quit your real job?
So, if I'm being honest with you, I never really had a real job.
Come on. That
Because, not since I was, in high school. So, when I was in CAU, of course, B school is, you have to get an internship, you have to do these things. So, I actually had a really good internship. I'm not going to say the name of the company, but I turned it down. It was going into my senior year, I had that internship. But I had an opportunity to run my company through an accelerator program, and I had to choose between the 2. And so that was a pivotal moment for me to realize, Leah, you don't really want to work for corporate, so stop preparing yourself to do that. If you want to do your business full time, prepare yourself for that. And so that's what I did. In senior year, I kind of went ghost on campus because I was really trying to build this so that way I can do this full time.
Yeah.
And that's what I ended up doing after I graduated. And it was a struggle. It was not easy. I fell on my butt a lot of times. But yeah, I'm really grateful that we're now in a place where this is a profitable business that's making money, that's not only paying me but able to pay and help so many other people as well. That's
what I was going to say. You're at a point where you're now employing other minority, business people as well. And even if people will say is working a job, is it supposed to be fun or is it supposed to be your job? And at this point, the people that work for you are probably saying, no, I really am passionate about my job. My passion is making my profit. Yeah. Which is even what you're saying for the young authors as well. So that's awesome.
Yeah, it's really beautiful to see, and it's an honor to have people on your team that are just as passionate about your mission than you, because it really shows you that this is all bigger than me. It's bigger than Leah at this point. And so I'm really grateful for that.
Wow. And how did you find your team? How did you get this amazing, passionate about the same thing you're passionate about, especially as an entrepreneur? Because we know we might go through numerous iterations of hiring people, and then they didn't work out very well. So for you, how'd you do it?
Yeah, so in short, it was really the people around me, my network. So I met Nana, who was the first hire that we made, and I actually met her at a networking event here in Atlanta. And we were just talking. She heard about the program. She's like, I want to be a part. And then I think some time went by, and she followed up later, and we had something available. Selena, who's our operations manager, I actually went to school with. So, funny story, we actually praise danced together at CAU Chapel. That's how we found each other. But she is she's a teacher, so her experience aligned perfectly.
Wow.
And then our most 3 recent hires actually all came from the AUC with the exception of 1. So
it was your network.
It was my network, yeah.
That's awesome.
And giving people opportunity that I knew, and then I knew that also, wanted to do something else too. Yeah. And not trying to be you have to hit all these boxes and check all these things, but really just looking at the person and saying, do they have the grit? Do they have the passion? Do they have the work ethic to get it done? Because working for a startup is really unique. Like, you're not going to get your day-to-day
Yes.
9-to-5 experience, and you need people that can kind of move.
Go with the motions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that 100% makes sense.
Yeah.
So every day, what's your day-to-day life as an entrepreneur, as this amazing, first and foremost, mogul? Like, you're genuinely breaking grounds for a lot of people in this industry. Like,
yeah,
especially here in Atlanta, and we're both from California,
yes,
so
we are.
that's very, like, it's unheard of
Yeah.
that people can really do that. That's actually why I love Atlanta, because I'm like, there's certain things that I feel like I could have probably never done in California.
Yep.
But once I came here, there are
And it's
resources
possible.
or things that were, even my network of going to an AUC school, like, that kind of really put things into position. So
Yeah.
for you, like, how is that? What is this day-to-day life that you're living now?
Yeah, so it looks different. Now that I have a team, I'm less working on, like, executing the business because I have people that can help me do that, and more so, like, preparing my team and giving them everything that they need to carry
Yes.
out those tasks.
Yes.
Which is different because for the past 3 years, I've been the one wearing every single hat, and so now I'm having to, like, learn how to not micromanage, which
Yes.
really wasn't my style anyway.
Right.
I'm like, go be great as long as it's done.
But this is
good.
my business, so.
Right. And so I think right now my day-to-day really is just managing the team and making sure that everybody has the different projects that we're working on. I'm no longer having to be the ones communicating with the illustrators or even working with the students. So I would say between managing and working with my team and fundraising, we're always fundraising.
I love it.
And trying to make new partnerships. So.
And is your business a nonprofit or is it for profit?
So we are actually a nonprofit.
Nice.
I'm trying to, like, use this new term, social enterprise, which is one of my mentors is telling me, because we are a nonprofit, but we have a for-profit model. And so our for-profit model actually funds the nonprofit mission. And so we're a really unique nonprofit where I would say about, like, 45% of our revenue comes from, like, grants and traditional funding, but then the other comes from our sales and from the actual book business. So, yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, because, I mean, if we just logically think about it, once the kids make the book, which is the nonprofit side, they eventually get to make profit. So it is a social
enterprise.
Enterprise.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
New phrase.
New
Social
phrase.
enterprise.
Social enterprise.
Yes, I like that a lot.
Yeah, and there, it's not. A lot of companies are going that route. There are companies called B Corps. Ben & Jerry's has actually been a B Corp.
Okay.
So basically, all that means is that you just have a social impact mission, and you're using your profits to help fund that mission or to further that mission. And that's really what we're trying to do, because I had a lot of confusion around being a nonprofit, because I'm like, yeah, we're a nonprofit, but I'm here to make these kids money.
Period.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
and
or I have to pay my staff, or I have to,
Exactly. And I'm really grateful that we're kind of sitting into our nonprofit status more, because at first it was confusing, because a lot of the funding that we received the first 2 years was from pitch competitions.
Yes.
So I was, like, out pitching, and people were like, oh, you're a for-profit, but you're nonprofit. So I'm like, it would be weird trying to figure out, like, when to use it. But I think now we have a, good understanding.
And I think it's becoming more socially acceptable as well. I think that people are more like, well, I mean, how do they? You have to eventually make money. Like, people are realizing, like, it's not just a nonprofit or just, what, UNICEF? Like, that's probably, like, the last, like, when you're literally going door to door and asking for pennies, and you're sending all the pennies like that. Yeah. It's not that easy anymore. Like,
it's not.
It's more stuff.
Yeah, and we just live in a different world now, and I think, like, the traditional nonprofit way is old, and I think there's room for a lot of nonprofits to have innovation, and I think we're just a really innovative nonprofit, so it's also hard for funders to figure out what category to place us into. Yeah. So that's been a challenge.
And even with, and I'm glad that you said that, because we can sit here and talk all day about how great it is and being an entrepreneur, but even so with that challenge, I think that's a really big thing that a lot of people that are even just debating, what should I do? Should I do nonprofit? Should I do sole proprietorship? Should I, with you being classified as a nonprofit, how do you still do the normal for-profit type of things?
That's a great question. And I think the short answer is, like, it's still your business at the end of the day. And I need it. And it was hard for me to understand, like, yes, we're a nonprofit, but at the end of the day, this is my business, this is my vision, and my team and our authors and we're all creating what it is that we want, because it's never been done before. Yeah. And we don't have to follow anybody else's, like, rule book on how to do it. So I think once I sat with that, it gave me a lot more freedom to do the really unique things that we're doing that you would see more traditional businesses doing, but now it's a nonprofit that's doing it.
Yes, I like that. And especially, of course, going to B school and stuff like that, it's like, I can't do this whole straight nonprofit thing. This whole like, there's a certain structure that we have to operate as a business. And certain things for the kids and for yourself to be able to get the funding that's necessary to keep this even going. How do we print these books? That's a great question, Leah. Yeah. How do you get these books printed? Like, how do you pay for the kids to, you know what I mean? Like, and I think a lot of people would also want to know, like, if I were to start something like this where I genuinely really just want to do this for something else or for another cause, but I don't want to classify it as just a strictly nonprofit, like, how do I get funding for this type of stuff?
That's a good question. So I think deciding, like, you know, what's going to be the best route for you. So when we actually first started as a for-profit. And I was struggling and we weren't making money because we wanted majority of the royalties to go back to the young authors. Yeah. So our royalty, we had an 80-20 royalty split, meaning 80% was going to the kids and 20% was going. Yes, that's awesome. It was great, but it's not sustainable
at all.
Like it sounds
like
cute,
that's not profit.
That
that's
bank
so
account
awesome.
was not cute at the time. So I had to figure out, okay, well, where we're at, how can we make this work? And so when we went to the nonprofit route, I was able to still have, you know, very flexible royalty payments that still, like, super exceed the industry standards. Like, authors, especially first-time authors, get anywhere from 5 to 12% at max of their own royalties. Our authors earn 35 to 50%, depending on what channel it's on. So I would say once you figure out, like, what your route is, whether it's nonprofit, whether it's for-profit, then you need to decide on your, like, channels. How are you going to get your revenue? Is it going to come from traditional grants? Is it going to come from pitch competitions? Is it going to come from sales? And how are you going to get to that point? And I think a lot of times people start businesses without figuring out what the finance model is.
That's smart.
And that's really, it's just a disadvantage because you're jumping into something without really understanding how are you going to make profit. Like, I need my profit secured. Like, I need to know where this money is coming. Yeah, where this money is coming from, how it's going to come, how often it's going to come. And I think once you figure that out in the beginning, the road to entrepreneurship will be a little bit easier. I struggled so much because I didn't do that at first. I was just like, oh, I have a really cool idea and I want to help people, but I wasn't thinking about how we can be sustainable so that way we can continue to help people.
Yes, and I think that when we all start our businesses, we always think of the people that are actually in the room starting the business with us, which is usually just ourselves. And so we're not thinking about the longevity of once I have employees or once I have students that I'm having to pay these royalties to. It's more than just, of course you're thinking when you're starting it, it's more than just me, but actually financially keeping it stable and sustainable. That's very big. The Wi-Fi. Do my employees have, you know, a hotspot? There's so many different things, especially with COVID and everything that's happened.
Because our whole team had to go virtual in the middle of the year. And right when COVID happened was in the middle of our 4-month experience program. So we had interns who are now being displaced. We had authors who, you know, are now having to work at home. So we had to make sure that they had reliable internet and computer and software and all this stuff. So
their creative juices, who's being there with them to walk them through this process.
And honestly, I give so much. If you were ever a writing mentor with us, thank you so much because our writing mentors really help bring these visions to life because we have, you know, this author of C-Rod is 8 years. He was 8 years old at the time that he wrote this book. And I always tell people, because people are like, well, how do kids write books? And I'm like, kids have some of the most dopest imaginations ever. And their ideas aren't jaded by the world yet. So when they have a really cool idea, they go for it. And our writing mentors are really there to kind of help organize that and to present it to the young authors to help them write their book. And, you know, we were going through COVID. I was concerned that the virtual process was going to be, if you would have asked me if we would have been a virtual organization or program 2 years ago, I would have said absolutely not. But we actually seen our young authors finish their books quicker at a faster pace and had more enjoyment, you know, through the process because they worked one-on-one with their writing mentors during that time. So it ended up working out.
So you definitely shifted and was like, nope,
we had to pivot. Yep. I mean, honestly, if you're a business owner, you just have to get comfortable with pivoting. Yep. Like, you can't, and that's what I'm learning, you can't get too comfortable in just, like, one model.
That's major tips, okay? Yes. Major keys, entrepreneur keys. We need it.
Right.
Okay, thank you very much, Leah. Okay, so a couple last questions. First and foremost, would you say being an author is your passion? Would you say this business, as far as helping other people become authors, is your passion? What is your passion, and why did you decide, like, my passion is going to make my profit?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say my passion is being a serial entrepreneur. Like, this is something, Young Authors Publishing was a great first business for me, and I'm really excited to see how far we go. But there are so many other business concepts that I have and that I want to pursue. And I think I'm more so passionate just about helping all people of color in all areas of representation. So I eventually want to go into, like, TV writing and film at some point. But in terms of my passion being my profit, that was like, I learned that in school when I was sitting in all these different conferences, trying to apply for all these different jobs, and just seeing the culture and seeing what I would be doing and knowing that I wouldn't be happy. And so I had to figure out what would make me happy, and what makes you happy may change in each different season that you're in. But knowing what it is and seeing how you can make profit was something that I was like, oh, you mean to tell me I can do something I love? I can have autonomy over my own schedule and still make money? Like, I'm going to go this route. I'm going to go that route.
Period. And if I got to make it shake, then I got to make it shake.
And I think the beautiful thing about where I come from, my hometown, and then also going to Killin University, is that it really, like, it just breeds great people and people who can go get it. And I'm really grateful for that, because at this point, you know, for me to be able to turn down job like 50,000, like nice high-paying jobs, like
9 to 5, that you know your schedule, that you don't have to work on a weekend.
You know that paycheck is gonna hit every
You have a holiday, girl.
Listen.
You got benefits. I can go to the doctor whenever I needed to and not have to work.
Exactly. No. Like, I think me, you know, taking that risk to not accept that right out of college really made it easy for me to live this life, because I don't know anything else now.
Wow,
like,
that's a fact.
So
I hadn't really thought about it like that.
Yeah, but for me, I'm an extremist, so I had to take that route, because I'm like, if I'm focused on something, I have to throw my all into it, and I really couldn't see me building this company and also working for someone else with the hours that they demanded. It wouldn't work for where I wanted to see this go. And I mean, like, oh no, like, I could really do this, and it's possible, because I think a lot of times people, you know, they sit in the fact that it doesn't happen for us often, that we're missing the opportunity that we can still go get it. Maybe harder, but we can still go get it. And I'm really grateful for that moment, because it showed me, oh no, it's money out here. It's access out here. It is connections out here. I got to go find it and figure it out.
That is great. And so I guess I'll ask that. For other entrepreneurs that want to be in your space, maybe what are some of those quick connections or quick places that they can go to possibly find funding, or any tips that you might have for them? Hey, don't do this, or this is the best way to go for this route.
Yeah. When it comes to funding, if you are a young entrepreneur, pitch competitions. I think it is the easiest way to, you know, acquire more money. And don't let the small amounts turn you away, even if it's $1,000, $2,500, $5,000, because if you add those up, you know, you'll look up and you'll have $50,000 to now operate your business. That's one that I will say. I will also say reaching out to, you know, your local entrepreneur communities in the city that you're in. So whether that's the SBA, we have a lot of, like, being in Atlanta is a great spot, because we have so many different connections and communities and networks. But I think network is your big thing. All of my connections really started from CAU. Whether that person led me to someone else, it all started there. And I think a lot of times, like Issa Rae said it, we don't look around enough. We're always trying to look up. But the people that we have around us are going to be the ones that are going to be able to put us on.
Yes.
Like, I remember when I first came to Clark, seeing you do pitch competitions and, like, seeing, oh, shit, like, you can, like, do it. You could just talk for 4 minutes and get money. Like, oh, this is great. Like, I'm going to do it. Sign me up. And so I think just, like, looking around, seeing what your peers are doing and communicating with your peers, because you can learn more from your peers than you ever will people who are at the position that you want to be.
Yes. So. That is such a major key. Okay. Yes, your network will be your network. That's a fact.
Right.
Okay, Leah, that's literally it for me. Is there any last tips or last things that you want to say to the entrepreneurs out there, especially with you becoming a serial entrepreneur? It's not just about the authors anymore. Now it's like just in general to us as entrepreneurs, anything that you might want to say before we tap out.
Yes. The one thing that I will say, something that somebody told me when I first started, and that is the only way you fail is if you stop. And I think sometimes we don't put enough stock into that because we want to see results really quickly. But if you're just committed for the long run, for the long haul, then you're going to see success. You're going to see, you know, accomplishments and all the things that you want. You just literally, you don't have to stop. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
Like, it's just don't stop. And at some point, you're going to reach it. Like,
exactly. And
so.
It's very difficult, especially for us, like, as just daily entrepreneurs. It's like, oh my gosh, where is this going? Sometimes it's a roadblock. Sometimes it's super tunnel vision. But at the end of the day, just like you said, you can't stop. And that's major keys. Like I said, Leah, thank you again so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Please, you guys, go look into her books. Go follow Leah on every social platform. Leah, shout it out.
Yes, so you can follow Young Authors Publishing on all social platforms at Young Authors Publishing. You can go to our website, youngauthorspublishing.org. We have over 23 books in print.
Oh
We have 10 more coming out this fall, and you can buy them wherever books are sold. So please go support our authors and all the amazing stories that they're writing. You can follow me at Leah Danielle on Instagram. And that's kind of only where I live right now. You know what I'm saying? Don't ask for too much. Twitter,
that's
Facebook,
all you need.
Find me on Instagram.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So, question.
Yes.
There is this new fad for, I guess I should say, with Amazon, of publishing your own book. What do you feel about these? And because I don't know if I can consider it a get rich quick scheme, or if this is getting ahead of the curve before people get into this new model of publishing books.
Yeah. So the thing about that is that's actually been around for a while. So before, when I was publishing my book 3-4 years ago, at the time it was called Create Space. That was Amazon's like self-publishing service. There's another one called Ingram Spark. Ingram Spark is owned by Ingram Content Group. Now, mind you, this is the largest book distributor in the country. So when I was deciding which platform to go with, I wanted someone who had years of experience in the publishing industry, which was Ingram Spark. And that makes your book available on all book-selling platforms, not just Amazon. With Create Space, a lot of authors, their book is only available on Amazon. I mean, Amazon is a giant, so that's not a bad thing. But if you want to diversify where your book is, Ingram Spark will probably be the best route. What I would say to this trend of people, wanting to self-publish on Amazon is, go for it. However you make your money. But if you want to be more serious in publishing, work in publishing, then I would explore other ways of doing that. The other thing too with Create Space and with Amazon is you don't really have a lot of creative control over your book. So your trim size, whether it's hardcover or soft cover, you don't have that much flexibility with it. You just have the options that they give you.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's a fun fact. Yeah. Well, that helps me know that might not be the route that I take.
and so here's the thing. I always tell, when I graduated and I didn't have the money for this to pay me, I was consulting. So I was helping people write and publish their book. And what I would always tell my clients is you just have to decide what your goals are. If you are just really passionate about telling the story and you want this to be available everywhere so it can touch as many people as possible, then, maybe go with Ingram Spark or with the Create Space. If you want to make money off of your book, if you want to use this as a tool to maybe jumpstart another business, then I would consider doing a hybrid model where you can publish your book through Ingram Spark, which will make it available everywhere, and then you can also sell it directly on your website because you're going to get more return. Because when you are distributing and publishing your book on all these different sites, you have to look at the profit margin. So how much is it to print the book, which they do? Their retailers are automatically going to take 50% of whatever your cost is. Jesus. So when you take all that, you may only be getting anywhere from $1 to $3 per every book sold. But if you're selling it on your website and if you're on the ground, reaching out to bookstores, you know what I'm saying, selling it yourself, you get your full price. So it really just depends on your lifestyle, your capacity, what you can handle, and what you want.